Couple of main takeaways from tonight's game, one of which James Cook is an absolute beast in a great situation with not much target competition, pass catching upside. Oh yeah, and he could score a few touchdowns too. 3 early touchdowns for James Cook, all of which in the first half. The Bills kind of eased off after that. We are going to be reacting to the Thursday night game between the Buffalo Bills, who ended up with 31, and the Miami Dolphins, who had just 10. Have a huge injury to look at, something that we've seen the last couple of years with their star quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, this time fresh off a contract. But some interesting fantasy angles to look at. So my name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Happy to help you out-research your opponent in 2024. Not going to lie, this is one of the later streams I'll be doing. Usually I'm doing around like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time streams. But happy to help all of you and respond to tonight's game and kind of look at the different usage situations. We've got RGQ saying, put in Tyler Bass on accident. Could have had an 11-point game, but had to miss the late field goal. That is the worst. Raven Shoyo is in here saying 13 subs away from 1K. Yes, that is right. If you could leave a like and subscribe as we help you out-research your fantasy opponent, I would greatly appreciate that. Lots of support as of late. First couple weeks of a season, and you guys have been phenomenal, so I do greatly appreciate it. RGQ saying, I do hope Tua is okay. Always sad to see players go down. Sports Spotlight said, I had James Cook, so I'm happy. I had James Cook in all 4 of my leagues. Also happy with you, man. That is a great situation to be in for James Cook owners. Again, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, we'll look at the numbers here in a moment, but not a whole lot of target competition for someone who's shown some pass catching upside. But today it was all about the touchdowns, which was pretty cool to see. Cosmic Limbo saying Hill and Waddle are my biggest ops because I drafted them. Yeah, so not a great situation in Miami. I do want to start with the man in the thumbnail and James Cook. I don't know what more you could ask. The majority of his 12 touches were in the first half. He had 3 touchdowns. He had a 17-yard catch and run. He was averaging over 7 yards per carry. It was his backfield. Ray Davis was only used in the second half once it became pretty apparent that this was not going to be a ball game anymore. The Bills looked electric. They could have put up 50 if they wanted to. They had 24 in the first half and were driving. They thrived in not the best weather. And the exact opposite can be said about the likely Tua Tagovailoa-less Dolphins. Looking around here, we got a couple more people in the live chat. If you guys could leave a like and subscribe, would greatly appreciate it. Already up to 3 early likes on the stream. This is going to be a shorter one, really just reacting to this game. But again, keep an eye on the fantasy guidelines if it is your first time here. My name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Availability. Are they on the field? Opportunity. Are they getting snaps, touches, and targets? Productivity. What are they doing with those opportunities? James Cook obviously checking off all the boxes today. And then opponent strength, are they capitalizing or are they in a position to capitalize against a weaker opposition? RGQ saying, I need Saquon to match Cook's performance. It's possible if you look at what he did in week 1, right? Already at 4 likes. Thank you guys very much. Sports Spotlight saying, I'll try to get my other account to sub. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Better yet, just tell anybody you know, family, friends, extended, acquaintances, who you know that play fantasy football as long as they're not in your league, right? And if they are, maybe be a little apply some strategy there, right? But let those around you who are playing fantasy football and are looking for assistance, guidance, guidelines, as we have our 4 here on the right side of the screen, tell them to give me a sub. It'd be great. Coleman gave me the fattest 0. Yeah, so Keon Coleman's going to be a major buy low story. I still think he's in a nice spot, but this offense didn't really have to throw. They were never really incentivized to throw. Again, they were up so much so early that it became a run-heavy scheme anyway. RGQ said, must be nice. Thank God I didn't start Keon Coleman. Yeah, he could have arguably been the thumbnail if we wanted to talk about disappointments because no points at all. Sports Spotlight question doesn't relate, but I'm guessing Higgins won't play. So would you start McConkey or Ridley PPR? Between those two, I would start. I just want to look at strength of matchup here. Already 6 likes in the stream. Thank you guys very, very much. We are reacting to the Bills-Dolphins contest. Just want to answer a few of your questions first. If we are looking at matchups, Chargers against Panthers, so keep in mind that's a run-heavy team that might go run-heavy down the stretch. If they're going to be blowing that Panthers team out, which I do believe they can. And then Ridley would obviously be on the Titans. Titans coming off a rough performance against the Bears. Going up against a tough Jets secondary. I'm going to go McConkey, even though it's likely going to be a more run-heavy scheme. Achane is him. Prey is right. Achane is him. We'll talk about everything related to this game in just a moment. Just want to get your initial questions answered here. Shakir stocks, though, I wish I grabbed him on the waiver wire. Well, the whole question, right, was who's going to be the primary option on this Buffalo Bills team in a pass-catching capacity? Is it going to be Dalton Kincaid? Is it going to be Khalil Shakir? Keon Coleman was coming up a lot. And beyond that, kind of a crapshoot. But we knew that James Cook had pass-catching upside. Waddle by low. We need to wait. The Roll 07, good to see you here. We need to wait on the Tua news, because if Tua is out for the entirety of the season, I don't know if I want Skylar Thompson throwing to my wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on your league format. Prey saying so no to trading Achane right now. I would say so. Like, they're selling high, and then there's realizing you've got a bona fide stud on your hands, and we know that about Achane. Every week that he's healthier, I feel a little bit better. Again, the injury last year shortened his rookie campaign, but I do have a lot of confidence in him being a breakout player if he can stay on the field. So I just need to get my my confidence up a little bit there by seeing him play more. Milk Achane as long as you feel is possible, but Buddy is injury prone. Don't think he's played a full season before. He hasn't. Track star out of Texas A&M. The talent's there. The availability wasn't. How long is concussion protocol? All Miami wide receivers are going to be on the bench. RGQ, he was a rookie. Yeah, he was a rookie last year, so just started out. Concussion protocol, I don't have the details for you on that right now, but I do know that Tua has had a couple of injuries like this. He had that scary play last year where he had 2 of them, and the second one, his hands were like stuck in a certain spot. He was showing not great signs of trauma to the head, so hopefully he is all right. Cosmic Limbo, Godwin for Olave, please help with this trade. I have already done Waddle, Lamb. I already have Waddle, Lamb, and Wilson. Olave's not in a great offense. I just don't want you to be deceived that all of a sudden the Saints are this phenomenal team because they beat down on a very poor Panthers squad, so just keep that in mind. Godwin, I believe, is a lot more consistent, Cosmic Limbo. For the last 5 years, we're looking at someone with 1,000 yards. Olave, obviously, a lot younger. For Dynasty, I might like him a little bit more, but I actually like Godwin a little bit more. RGQ, I didn't know that. Just heard he's injury prone. Yeah, was injury prone in his lone season, but hopefully, those first few games were Breece Hall-like. The numbers were insane. George Play 01, drop right for Bucky Irving, non-PPR. If we're going non-PPR, I would say so. Bucky Irving looks pretty efficient behind Rachaad White. And Rachaad White, a good pass catcher. Maybe they get that thunder and lightning dynamic going. Prey, the GOAT Tua might have to retire. Oh, that's right, Prey. You are a huge Tua stan. He's in your profile picture. I'm sorry, man. I mean, regardless, it sucks to see that type of injury. I'll catch up with more of your questions in a moment. We are already at 7 likes, so I do appreciate that. And as was mentioned in the live chat before, we are 13 subscribers away from 1,000 on this channel, which blows my mind. I'm not going to be as high energy today. I worked a long day, and it is late, but I wanted to jump on here to answer some of your questions. We do have a free Discord that a lot of you are in, so I'm glad you guys have been utilizing that. All right, let's look at usage. So not much to take away from Josh Allen. We'll work from the top left. Yes, 13 for 19, 139 through the air. Not excited about it, but it was raining, and this was a blowout from the very beginning. The Bills also only ran 45 plays, and the Dolphins ran 73, a team that was running a much more rapid-style offense, trying to play catch-up. Again, folks, we are reacting to the Bills-Dolphins game that just wrapped up about 20 minutes ago. James Cook goes off for 3 touchdowns in the first half. That is the big headline as you see it right down here, courtesy of the ESPN app. Yeah, a lot to take away from this, but I am here ultimately to help you out-research your fantasy opponent per the 4 guidelines in the top right: availability, opportunity, productivity, and strength of opponent. So keep those in mind. Make those your 4 pillars for 2024 as we help you out-research all of your league mates and win the cash if you're in it for money, hopefully. All right, James Cook. Efficiency was there. We could go back to our fantasy football guidelines. 7.1 yards per carry is insane. Broke free for a 49-yarder. That was the cherry on top, the third of 3 touchdowns. 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. Wasn't targeted a whole lot, but again, Josh Allen didn't have a lot of chances to throw the ball. because this game got out of hand pretty quick. Ray Davis, don't want to take much away from him, from his performance, because he was utilized mostly in the second half. This was James Cook's backfield until it wasn't. Khalil Shakir, in a PPR format, we have 10.4 points, broke free for a gain of 21. Ty Johnson had a nice gain. Khalil Shakir, 5 targets out of the 19 passing attempts for Josh Allen. We are looking at a little over a 25% target share, but again, a very small sample size. Dalton Kincaid, still pretty high on him. You know, not the strongest start to the season, but there's plenty of target availability. Not a whole lot of target competition. Keon Coleman, a huge storyline coming into the season for a potential breakout receiver. Some were projecting him in the 700 or 800 receiving yard range, depending on where you looked. Lower values looked around 400 or 500. He didn't catch a single ball. And again, the weather wasn't great. Did only have the 1 target. I do want to look over to the Miami side before I answer a few more of your questions on the stream here. Tua Tagovailoa, before the scary injury, did not look good. 17 for 25, 5.8 yards per attempt, a very low value. Again, the weather wasn't great. 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 1 pick 6, which was, again, the cherry on top, the last score of the game. Nobody scored for the next quarter and some change. Devon Achane, as we have mentioned before, it's all about availability. That is the number one aspect on my list for a reason, but he gets everything else. So Raheem Mostert is a 32-year-old running back who has an injury history as well. Devon Achane is like 10 years younger than him. This is his sophomore campaign in the NFL. He holds a record at Texas A&M in track and field. I wish I remember exactly what it was. And then you PPR owners saw Devon Achane take 7 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown. I do not suggest preying on someone's downfall, or even anticipating an injury, but we do know Devon Achane played an abbreviated season last year. If you're scared and you want to go with someone more reliable, even like across the way, James Cook, I mean, they were around the same in terms of output. Cook had the 3 touchdowns. Cook, in his young career, hasn't had injury issues. Meanwhile, Devon Achane did last year. I wouldn't suggest trading him. I know there's the whole sell high aspect. I just think he's good. I just think he's an extremely athletic human being who, when available, is going to do phenomenal things. 7.8 yards per carry after 103 carries. I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but few have done it. 8 touchdowns, 11 games played doesn't really tell the story. And so far this season, obviously 10 carries for 24 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have 7 receptions on 7 targets for 76 yards in game 1. Okay, now all of a sudden, on top of him being mad athletic and very efficient, now he's got 14 receptions for over 140 yards and a touchdown through the air. That alone should draw you in. We look at the rest. We've got Jonnu Smith. We have Jalen Waddle, 4 for 41. Not ideal. Even less ideal, Tyreek Hill, 3 for 24. Devon Achane, I mean, James Cook stole the show, but Devon Achane is a huge highlight because 29 touches for him, another touchdown, and he's up there with the leading receivers in the league right now. Again, I say that lightly. We are looking at someone who has played 2 games when the majority of the league has played 1. But he has over 140 receiving yards on 14 receptions. And he has caught all 14 of his targets. Is ridiculously fast. You just have to play the game internally of, okay, do I trust him to be healthy? And am I willing to sacrifice, like with Cooper Kupp over the years, like with Christian McCaffrey, that is still a situation that's lingering, and like many others, like Tua, do I sacrifice the peace of mind when it comes to injury for the breakout talent that is Devon Achane? That is a question you have to ask yourself, and that's why he's a tough one to trade, because there is so much deviation. He could play 5 games and have 700 rushing yards, 850 all-purpose, especially with the pass-catching upside, probably more than that now. Definitely more than that now. but then he might not play another game the whole year. Again, it's a small sample size, but the early prolonged injury from last year worried me. He is a bit smaller too. All right, let's look back down the comments. Again, my name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Just doing a quick reaction live stream to the Bills and Dolphins. James Cook in a phenomenal situation. Not a whole lot of established pass catchers on that Bills team. We knew that coming into this year, so I hope you drafted him heavy. He was definitely worth that third or fourth rounder, at least in this small sample size. Coming off a great year last year, too. He was top 5 in the league in rushing yards. And then Devon Achane, 29 touches, 7 receptions on 7 targets for the second straight week, and over 140 receiving yards. Very, very, very excited about his upside. That one just comes down to flat-out injury. He is a great dynasty pick if you're willing to live with that, because, again, he's sharing the backfield with Raheem Mostert, who's 32 and hasn't exactly been healthy his whole career either. I want to make sure I answered your question, George Playo. 1 Bucky Irving would be a yes. Over right in non-PPR if we're looking for that efficient volume. Raven Shoyo says, I think Waddle is probably a bench guy if you have better options, but Tyreek is a must-start every week, even if Tua is out. I would agree with that statement. Tyreek should be that security blanket for Skylar Thompson. A little bit of a tongue twister there. And we saw that in the limited play of Skylar Thompson a couple of years ago when he was in the playoffs. I want to say the wild card round or divisional round. Whenever Tua was out. And I think Tyreek, his breakaway speed, his consistent productivity. There's a select few guys in the league you start regardless, and Tyreek is one of them. Justin Jefferson's one of them. A couple of quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts are arguably them as well. Cosmic Limbo saying, okay, thank you, no problem. RGQ, thoughts on the 49ers defense going into Minnesota? Yahoo has them projected at 6.97 for some reason. Yahoo is giving the Minnesota offense a lot of credit coming off of a great performance against a bad football team in the Giants. That's mainly it. Now, the Giants did make some investments. They've got Brian Burns. They've got Dexter Lawrence, some decent pass rushers and guys to stuff the line. But it's just coming off a great performance. I'm starting the 49ers defense pretty much every week. We'll see what happens with Sam Darnold. He had a nice game, but he's going to be going up against a team that just made Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense look lost. And maybe they did that by themselves. The Roll 07 says, waiting for Madden 25 to install. All right, what's better? I'm going to ask you guys right now, what is better, Madden 25 or NCAA Football 25, based on those who have played it? If I could bet, I'd be a rich man. Yeah, is Prey going back to him retiring? Yeah, it's rough seeing that happen to Tua. I hope everything is all right. Buy low, Tyreek. Good luck to James Cook doing that to New England. We got a Pats fan. I've got a couple Pats fans. My college roommate my freshman year, a diehard Patriots fan. So no worries there. I think you're buying about as low as you can on Tyreek. The panic's going to set in that Tua Tagovailoa is out for the foreseeable future. I'd be very shocked if we saw him before the month of October. I am not a doctor, but he has had time and time again injuries related to trauma to the head. Concussion protocol is becoming a pretty frequent occurrence for Tua Tagovailoa. So if you're going to buy Tyreek low, now is about the lowest you can buy him at. Kind of the subtle drop that we saw with Justin Jefferson. We saw J.J. McCarthy go down. That's kind of what I'm thinking for the value. It's tough to read the market this early on, but panic is setting in right now. So this is the lowest you'd be able to buy in on Tyreek Hill. 8 likes already on the stream. I do appreciate it, folks. My name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. Use those guidelines on the right of your screen to your advantage. Availability is that person on the field. I mean, that is especially relevant when we're talking about this matchup right now. Tua not going to be on the field for a bit. Devon Achane broke out, but he had injury issues his rookie year. Opportunity. Are these players getting touches, targets, and snaps? Are they getting chances to perform? Productivity. We want football players that are productive. We want football players averaging 7.1 yards per carry in a rainy game where it was pretty apparent we were going to see a lot of rushes. We want touchdown scorers. That's a little more risky, but if they're getting the ball within the 5, they're getting a lot of goal-to-go situation touches inside the 20, that is okay. Productivity for wide receivers. Obviously, your catch percentages, your yards per reception, that type of thing. And opponent strength. Do we have a favorable matchup for some of these players? You could say that about a lot of Bills players. Not one of them would not be Keon Coleman. Raven Shoyo says trying to trade Stephon Diggs for Mike Evans. The guy needs an RB1, sending him Zach Moss. So we are looking at Diggs and Moss for Evans. Who should I take as my RB3? Okay, so we are going Diggs and Moss for Evans and Jalen Warren, DeAndre Swift, or Zamir White. I have James Conner and Monty. I think you showed me this before, and I am leaning Warren due to the pass-catching upside. If not DeAndre Swift, checkdowns are usually a rookie quarterback's best friend. Be very careful when you try and have takeaways from week one. Again, I talked about this with Wally Lukashinsky. He was on the live stream with me a couple of days ago. Week one is essentially preseason for a lot of these teams. We're looking at a 3-week preseason where a lot of, I believe, 10 starting quarterbacks didn't even play. A lot of quarterbacks don't play, starting quarterbacks at least, and starting units do not play week one, and they do not play week 3 because that is when the guys on the fringe of the 53-man rosters are trying to make the team. So maybe they'll play a couple series in week 2. This was a dress rehearsal for a lot of teams, whether they want to admit it or not. Things were not gelling. So I am either going to go Stephon Diggs and Zach Moss for Mike Evans and Jalen Warren, or Mike Evans and DeAndre Swift. Warren and Swift play for teams that are projected by Vegas to win more games. Zamir White is on a struggling Raiders team projected to win between 6 and 7. He might not get as many opportunities unless he gets more involved in the pass-catching game. Raven Shoyo saying full PPR. Yeah, I would still go Jalen Warren or DeAndre Swift. Warren has pass-catching upside. Swift does as well. Swift around 50 targets a season, roughly. And Jalen Warren, the lightning to Najee Harris's thunder. TS is in here. How's it going? Do you like James Conner over Devonta Smith in the flex full PPR? That is what I am leaning this week. All right, let's look matchups. I do love J.K. Dobbins again this week, by the way, as well as Gus Edwards. I think it's going to be a run-heavy scheme for a Chargers squad going up against what I still believe to be the worst team in football in the Panthers. Second half should be a lot of runs. The total in that one is 39.5, which is very interesting, but not shocking. Eagles-Falcons, it's in Philly, so outdoors. Would love to see the weather there in the city of brotherly love. And the Cardinals are taking on the Rams at home. Rams are favored. Oh, the Cardinals are favored by 1 after giving the Bills a run for their money. I do think the tides are turning for the Cardinals, and they'll win more games this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. hopefully utilized more again. Taking week 1 with a grain of salt, not panicking. James Conner over Devonta Smith in the flex full PPR. Normally, I am taking the traditional pass catcher, the wide receiver in this case, and Devonta Smith over James Conner. I do think I'm leaning James Conner with you because Arizona is actually favored. They're showing to be a more competitive football team. And Devonta Smith happens to reside on one of the most run-heavy teams in the entire league. The Eagles were bottom 5 last season in pass play percentage. RGQ, Najee versus Denver or Ford versus Jacksonville this week. I am going to go likely Ford. I would not be shocked if the Browns go more traditional offense, ground and pound. Let's kill a team with the running game after that atrocious performance from Deshaun Watson. And Najee is sharing that backfield with Jalen Warren. I do want to look real quick, actually. I just want to see. Sorry, 1 second here. Overall usage, just want a little refresher. Najee, 20 on the ground for 70 yards. Jalen Warren, 2 for 7. Jalen Warren, 2 receptions for 13 yards. So Najee getting a lot of those touches, at least early on. Or Ford versus Jacksonville. Until Nick Chubb returns, that is Ford's backfield. There's not a whole lot of resistance coming from the Pierre Strong camp, at least again. Small sample size. We are at 9 likes. If we could hit 10, I would greatly appreciate it, folks. My name is Corey. This is Armchair Fantasy Football. We are reacting to the Bills' 31-10 triumph over the Dolphins, the Tua injury, the fact Devon Achane has a very high value despite being an injury risk. Khalil Shakir kind of ticking up and up and up in value, 10.4 PPR for him. James Cook in one of the best situations a running back could be in. On a winning team, run-heavy script, what we saw today, and he didn't even get that much volume on the ground. Efficient. He has proven that over the course of the last couple of years. A growing pass catcher, a receiving back who is in a spot where he could receive, honestly, he could see 60, 70 targets this year, and I wouldn't be shocked because Stephon Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. Now we're trying to figure out who the primary option in the receiving department is between Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and friends. So I would say James Cook is in a phenomenal situation, and we saw it reaping benefits again today. I'm going to go Ford versus Jacksonville, RGQ. I think he's in an offense that would be leaning a little more towards the run and trying to take the ball out of Deshaun Watson's hands. Madden 25, but that's just me. So Raven Shoyo is taking Madden 25. 100% of you so far in the poll say you played somebody in fantasy tonight. That's not a shock with the Bills and Dolphins, two high-caliber football programs hitting the gridiron. Tannehill, question mark. Tannehill to the Packers. It looks like Malik Willis is going to be the starter. Jordan Love actually isn't ruled out yet, which I think is very interesting. RGQ, 4 massive concussions is pretty bad. I 110% wholeheartedly agree with you. I seriously think Tua is 1 or 2 of these away from being out forever, like retiring. I think he should retire. It's scary to see somebody have their hands in that spot, and essentially you could see the brain functions not working. It's not a good sight. Very worried for him. Tyler Sperry says, hey, food for thought. Waddle hasn't been good for 2 years. Waddle is good when that entire offense is healthy, and they haven't been, and Tua's been in and out. There's been a lot of instability, not to make excuses for him, but he's not in the best environment, in comparison at least, to what we thought the Dolphins offense would be. Jelly of the month. Hey, Corey, need a flex half PPR. Jaden Reed against the Colts with no quarterback. Very good point. Or Chase Brown or Iosivas versus Kansas City. Okay, Chase Brown or Iosivas versus Kansas City. Could drop Iosivas for Tyler Johnson or Wandale on wire. Lazard seems fluky. Lazard's in a weird spot, especially considering that Garrett Wilson got a pretty decent amount of targets and the offense didn't look that good. Again, week 1 against the Niners, not sure what to make of it. Tyler Johnson is an interesting one. He was one of my waiver wire pickups for week 2 a couple of days ago. Go back and look at that live stream if you'd like to. We had 11 options on there and went over it with my fellow ESPN on-air employee teammate in Wally Lukashinsky. Tyler Johnson over Wandale, Tyler Johnson over Alan Lazard, because he's in a wide receiving core that's not going to have Puka Nacua for a bit, and we did see him get a decent amount of involvement. Jaden Reed with no QB. I do love Jaden Reed as a Swiss Army knife. I am between him. Chase Brown didn't get a lot of touches. I am a long-term player for Chase Brown, but based off the data that we know right now, I'm either going Jaden Reed or Tyler Johnson. Don't want to go with a running back in a PPR or half PPR format. So I'm either going to go Reed or Tyler Johnson. Johnson has a lot of opportunity, better quarterback play. Reed has even more opportunity, is more versatile, but it might be a run-heavy offense, and I really question how much, even with a debilitated running back core, is he really going to get involved in that offense. Folks, this is probably one of the quickest streams in history for this channel, but I do appreciate you tuning in. We will be live tomorrow going into the weekend, breaking down a lot of different aspects of your fantasy teams. Keep pouring those questions in. I do greatly appreciate it. And again, make sure you pay attention to the fantasy football guidelines. Availability. Is somebody out on the field? What a topic to be talking about right now, in lieu of another Tua injury and somebody in Devon Achane who a lot of people have had doubts about breaking out again. Do you want to weigh that explosive potential with someone who is playing with a big risk factor? That is up to you. Opportunity, are they getting snaps, touches, and targets? Productivity, are they efficient with those opportunities? And opponent strength, we want to capitalize. Big example, Gus Edwards and or J.K. Dobbins. Run-heavy scheme in the second half, I'm guessing, for the Chargers against what I still believe to be the worst team in football in the Panthers. They sure looked like it against the Saints in week 1. But again, it's week 1. Take it with a grain of salt. Head on over into the live chat for a link to my free Discord where you can talk fantasy with me 24/7. Even when I am not live, I'm here to help you out-research your opponent in 2024. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. Road to 1,000 subs, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful night, everybody.